Somebody call Smash Mouth because, hey, now you're an all-star. What's that? You're opting out of this? You're not showing up? All right, well, we'll replace you. This is a topic that I have talked about plenty on YouTube, on the podcast, on the Indy Ball Report podcast, at Thanksgiving dinner, at work, at the grocery store. Anywhere I've been, I've talked about this. So if you've heard a little bit of this before, it is what it is. But I'm bringing it up again because Nick Firestone, the main host of Indy Ball Report, where I'm just a squatter at this point in life, just posted an article to the Indy Ball Report site, which you should go check out. It was interesting. He has some interesting ideas about this topic. The article was about the return of the Indy Ball League All-Star Games to the status that they should really be held at. He discusses some of the background on the topic. He discusses a few of his own ideas. It's really good. Go check it out. It's over on the Indy Ball Report site. Go to articles, and then it's the top one. The current situation, I'm not going to go through the whole article because I do want you to read it, and also because I don't want to. It's my channel. The current situation as it stands, though, is the American Association and the Frontier League both do All-Star Games and some sort of skills challenge, home run derby, what have you. The Atlantic League and the Pioneer League, however, they don't, and they just announced mid-season All-Stars. Congrats. Moving on. Now, there's been some issues that cause that, and we still sort of see them in the American Association and the Frontier League. A big one is lack of fan interest and attendance. It's hard enough to sell tickets to see your own players. I mean, sickos will care about the best players in the whole league, but there's only so many of them, like maybe 5% of your normal attendance base you can pull from. So it becomes difficult to actually move those tickets, even though in your head you think All-Star Game, you think marquee event, but really in practice at this level, it's hard to sell. Now, that's not always the case. Quebec did a very nice job, but Quebec is a market full of sickos up there. They do great. They sell out. Have you seen some of the environments from these games? It's crazy. Other than that, in general, All-Star Games have struggled. Not just Indy Ball, even. This is true for minor league baseball as well. So, I'm not just burying the Indy leagues. There's a certain cost that's associated with having an All-Star Game, and then you combine that with like low sales, the cost of travel, the cost of hosting players and events. You got to put everybody up. Usually there's a couple events go along with it. You got to get event space for all that. Will the league pay for it? Will the team pay for it? Either way, it's not ideal. And then you have the opt-out issue, which I referenced right at the beginning of the video, especially in an instance like last year when the Frontier League put the game in Quebec, and if you're in the West, if you're in Gateway, you're like, that's like a 16-hour trip from me or something. Like, maybe not so much. Great market, just a lot of travel. I don't know about all that. So you have some problems here. So let's take a step back. I want to talk about this from my own angle here, which will kind of compare and contrast a little bit with Nick's own thoughts, which you can go check out, as I said, on his site. We got to start by at least addressing what is the goal of the All-Star Game if you're doing it in the Indy Leagues, because I would love to have it back to accomplishing these things in all leagues. I think it's good. It allows players to showcase things. It's a fun celebration for fans, for staff, all that. Like, it's a good thing. It promotes the league. Let's do that. Promoting the league is a good thing. Promoting the players is a good thing. The goal is for it to be a popular event that fans want to be at. Attractive to people who want to see the best in the league, but also to people who just want to have fun. They're like, all right, it seems like a fun thing to go to. Additionally, it has to mean something for the players and the teams involved. You got to get some buy-in from them. Now, I will first go through my main idea, then I will tell you why my main idea will never happen. And some of you are like, I've already seen this movie, Ryan. Well, we're back. And then we'll talk about maybe my secondary idea on this thing. Nick gave 3 ideas. He's out there. He's doing a whole bunch. My main idea is I think all 4 major Indy leagues, the Pioneer, the Atlantic, the American, and the Frontier, would benefit from a shared All-Star weekend. My theory would be, or a midweek thing. I prefer a weekend, but I get it. You don't want to give up weekend dates. But whenever you decide to do it, all 4 teams line up their All-Star game. They take their All-Star breaks at the same time. They all go to one location with their All-Star teams. One team per league. No division, no picking through divisions. You take your All-Star team. You randomly draw what league's All-Star team your All-Star is going to play against on day 1. There's 2 games on day 1. Everyone plays. And then if you win your game, you play in the championship, the Indy Ball Championship, whatever you want to call it, the Showcase Championship. And if you lose, you play in the Constellation Game. So every team of All-Stars gets 2 games, guaranteed, against the other All-Stars of the other leagues. That allows for some interleague combination. It gives a good meeting spot for all of like league admin and exec to talk and maybe have a sharing of ideas. It gives a really good chance for people to showcase, because there's a big question sometimes about, if a guy is performing well in Indy Ball, is it the matchups? What's going on? If he's performing well against, even if you're an Atlantic League pitcher, which is theoretically the best league, if you're performing well against an American Association, pitching staff, all-star pitching staff, it does say something. At the same time, if you're a pioneer leaguer and you're seen as sort of the bottom rung of these four, then you show out and you get some hits against Frontier League and American pitching, like that's a big opportunity for you. That's going to help you whether you're going into affiliated ball or another indie league next year. You've kind of proven that you can hang. So that's a good opportunity for the players. On the other side, too, it allows for sort of a competitiveness, like a this time it counts type of vibe, as MLB attempted to do. It gives you something to play for. It gives a bit of buy-in and something that just a little more investment from the league side. It also starts to address some of the issues. So less players you can come from each league and cut it in half. So that allows for just a higher caliber of player going and less cost of travel for across a league-wide basis. Though, you can kind of ship everybody sort of together, shared bill type of thing. That would be my theory on it. Even if it is a bit of a further travel. So that's where you got to shake it out. Maybe you will need to look for sponsorship. That's a different conversation. Leagues can pay, for their teams to travel as a whole rather than teams all foot in the bill, and they could be divided by teams. It focuses the talent all in one area as sort of showcase for, right? This is sort of in front of like the last push of Indy Ball signings for the year into MLB organizations. And later in the year, you mostly just see Winter Ball, Mexican League signings. So it kind of increases, again, the importance to players, and it gives scouts one focused area to go see players. So, it's harder to bring a giant scout into Charleston or Lexington or where have you to see one or two players are interested in. They might make the trip if it's convenient, if it makes sense, whatever. But it's more likely if there's 4 players or 25 guys, called 100 of the top Indy Ball guys all in one spot for 2 days, it makes sense to go check that out. Now, there's still more issues, right? Yeah, it might need, because when it comes to the fan excitement thing, now you're trying to sell 4 games for over 2 days. So it would probably be a 2-ticket situation, one for each day. Yeah, you need to explain what's going on, build some excitement. But if you get the good press going and sort of play up the multi-league aspect and like the champions of all these leagues, like the best players on these leagues going against each other, you might be able to make that work better. Could be further travel since you're going to be outside the footprint of some leagues to get to things. Might need to figure out some sponsorship there even, or just with your own travel sponsors that teams tend to have. Figure something out there. Need to get the leagues on board. This is the hardest part. They're hesitant to collaborate anyway. There's risks to reputation for like the Atlantic League if they get popped by the Frontier randomly. That hurts. If the Pioneer League shows up and gets dog walked, that's hard. I'd say like you kind of are expected to get beat bad, so it's all plus side. But from the other perspective, then if you're the Atlantic League, it's all downside because you win and you were expected to, or you lose, and that's embarrassing. So for all these reasons, the idea isn't likely, but I believe in it and I love it, and I will continue to promote that. So what is my middle ground here? Let's break it back to, let's try to get an All-Star game going in every league. I think it's good. I think one of the issues is some guys just don't want to participate, don't want to take the risk of the extra game, don't see the benefit of it. That's fine as far as people see that. I would say before the 2 week, once you hit like the qualified batter or qualified pitcher level, like whatever, how many games you got to play, how many plate appearances, whatever, innings pitched, depending on what you're doing. Once you're qualified, you have until 2 weeks before the All-Star game to declare eligible for the All-Star game. Then voting takes place over the next 3 days. So 10 days before the All-Star game, rosters are revealed or maybe drafted, whatever you want to do. If you want to have local celebs draft the teams, you can do that. League legends draft the teams, team legends draft the teams, whatever. That's fine. Who's voting? That's also up to you. Sure. But at least gives a buffer. You know the guys that you're picking are into play. It gives you a few more days if pitching lines up bad, so one guy isn't going to be available. Because remember, you're still needing to consider all that. It gives you a chance to switch some things out, but you also have 10 days to figure out the logistics and make sure it's promoted and do all that. I would consider putting the game somewhere interesting or doing deals with local little leagues to like, my thought would be, if there's an interesting spot to do the game that will grab attention in a local area that might draw people in better than just at the normal ballpark, consider it. If it's, yeah, of course, then you need to have the infrastructure for it, but obviously it's got to work out right. So if it doesn't, don't overthink it. I would just say if you're getting guys in town for a few days, do all-star appearances around, like maybe at local little leagues, maybe local events. Give out lots of free tickets on this thing. I would say tickets for like every little leaguer in the area. Honestly, their families, whatever, sure. Tickets for sponsors, all that. And now you might be saying, but that's a lot of tickets being given away. Yeah, but you aren't really doing a good job of selling them anyway. So give them tickets. People will show up, spend some money. It's fine. They're not spending money not being there. So go for that. And that's kind of where it ends. Honestly, that's about the idea. I'm just spelling it out there. I want to get a little bit of compare and contrast going with Nick's. Nick had a bunch of ideas, including trying to invite the Bananas in, playing celebrity softball, or playing just a normal Indy Ball, just a normal All-Star game. Personally, I think I'm partial to a draft if you can get a mix. Like, I would try to get some local celebrities involved to like draft the team. I think you could do it in a fun way. Hell, even if you can find like a YouTuber that is like popular in an area, you know. I always go back to like the Indiana / Pittsburgh area, like Pat McAfee, the way he played for the Wild Things at one point. Like someone with some recognizability, put him in charge of a team, that'd be fun. Get creative with it. But like the problem last year was the Frontier, it lost something when the Frontier League lost their, or made their announcement of the players, then all of a sudden it felt like half the West dropped and had to be replaced. That sucked. I get that it's a pain. But All-Star games are fun. It's a fun way to get back to fans. If the fans are there, get them there. Make it a fun thing. I know it's expensive. Got to find a way to get it less expensive. But that's my pie in the sky idea. That's my more realistic idea. Neither of these are going to happen because my life's a nightmare. But that's fine. That's it. The channel's just chronicling of my life being a nightmare. Fun. Anyway, not an All-Star. Not All-Star behavior. That's fine. Got another video coming out. Probably today, maybe tomorrow. I don't know when this is coming out. It is super late Friday morning / Thursday night. Just recorded Indy Ball Report podcast. Check that out this weekend. Until then, y'all have a good one. This has been rambling.